Everyone is ready. It's going to be on the Shakuras Plateau. So here we go, folks. NightEnD looking to try and come back from this as well as possible. To be fair, he didn't do a huge amount in the last game. He was incredibly passive, and then when he went in there, he actually lacked firepower in his forces. He had a lot of sentries, which was great, but he lacked the punch. And here we go, folks. Dimaga in the blue trunks. He's spawning to the northeast of the Shakuras Plateau, and he is playing Zerg versus his opponent, the one and only NightEnD. He's in the red trunks, and he is playing Protoss to the southwest. As I said, it was a very, very passive approach by NightEnD right there, relying primarily on sentries. He didn't have a huge amount of damage, and he assumed that his opponent had nothing but Zerglings. It was a fairly reasonable assumption, bearing in mind he'd seen nothing but that. However, the Roach transition from Dimaga was perfectly timed. The Roaches popped out, and then he was able to force his opponent NightEnD into a fighting retreat, which eventually ended in him losing his entire army as Dimaga continued to pump in more and more units from those 3 hatcheries. He had an economic advantage most of that game. Dimaga's expansion was able to stay up pretty much untouched, really. So we'll see as to what NightEnD wants to do. NightEnD does like that airplay. He likes to get Void Rays. He likes to get Phoenixes against Zerg, and we've seen it work extremely well. However, in this case, the second game just resulted in mass gateway units. It was a 6 gateway attack that was heavy on sentries, and nothing happened. It wasn't good. It didn't really do a huge amount of damage to Dimaga at all. Dimaga was very happy about that, and of course this will be a forge fast expansion right here from NightEnD. Pretty standard on this map, honestly. This is good to wall off, and NightEnd's base design is obviously designed around that, as you can imagine. Expansion will come up right there, and Dimaga starting off with the spawning pool and the extractor as opposed to going into that early expansion right there. We'll see as to whether or not he decides to get a little bit aggressive early on in the game, trying to apply pressure to NightEnD. NightEnD seems to take a while to get going, especially if he's going for this expansion. However, he's going to need some firepower to break the wall that's probably going to come up here from NightEnD. NightEnD scouts, he sees the early gas, and of course he is looking for the spawning pool as well. Trying to block off any kind of expansion right here from Dimaga. Nothing coming in for him as of yet. We'll see as to whether or not he's able to really run this line. NightEnD doesn't have a huge amount of defense here yet, but he will. He'll probably build a cannon in this area right here, maybe build a couple of gateways to make this an almost complete wall-off. You tend not to want to wall yourself off completely if you happen to be Protoss for obvious reasons. It's too easy to get stuck. But whatever the case, NightEnD will try and build it so it's very difficult to get in here. Really tricky. Dimaga, on the other hand, the Zerglings are on the way for him. He's got 4 on the field. He's got a few more coming in. He's also got that Speedling upgrade coming in as well. Spawning pool is working on the Speedling upgrade. Not entirely finished, however. Still a good minute or so left on that one. Pylon down and a gateway at the front once again as we see NightEnD setting up a defensive position. Now I think the problem for NightEnD is going to be, is he going to be able to get out of that base? Because he's made the decision right now to expand, and the problem is that if Dimaga decides, well, suddenly I'm going to take map control, then NightEnd's not going to be able to do a huge amount. Obviously, Dimaga can't get into the base, but he knows about the expansion. He hasn't spotted it, but he saw the forge at the front, which usually can only mean one thing. Dimaga will be able to get in there with the scouting overlord to spot the expansion timing if he likes. Expansion now complete right here. Now, Dimaga is actually behind right now in terms of his economy. Not by a huge amount, but he's 1 worker behind, and he's gone for that hatchery later on, which for Zerg, it's a 2-fold problem. It's not just about mining for Zerg. You've got to build your units from a hatchery as well. So the more hatcheries you've got, the more larvae you've got, which means you have the ability to build more units. And Dimaga has been sitting on 1 base for the last 5.5 minutes. So that might cause things to be a bit tricky. However, NightEnD is not building any military units at all. He's got nothing but probes and is confident about that single cannon's ability to repulse anything that comes in his direction. Now, that might happen, certainly, but I'd be more concerned about what would happen if Dimaga decided to build Roaches and then just directly attack the front. Roaches do extremely well against this kind of thing, and with only 1 sentry coming out for NightEnD, I'm not entirely convinced that he'll be able to defend against that. Dimaga having a look around and seeing what he can see. A couple of queens out, 3 in this case. However, still no sign of anything from NightEnD, but there we go. There's that Stargate that we expected to see, and he's not building a proxy or anything like that. He's got the Stargate down in his base, and of course he knows that he is securely walled off against anything, except that Scouting Overlord. but it's too far away. The sentry would be able to pick it off in the process unless he was able to maneuver his way around completely. Stargate is well on the way to completion right here. Lair is coming up for Dimaga, however, and I would imagine by the time Void Ray's on the field, that Lair is going to be finished. So Dimaga can build Hydras if he needs. He's got all sorts of cool stuff, and of course, he has the ability to keep an eye out for any kind of cloaked play with Dark Templar. Not that we really expect that right now, but he'll also be able to get an overseer into NightEnd's base and have a good look at what's going on. Sounds like a fairly good idea, and Dimaga loading up right here on drones and looking to transition into a Roach Warren with an Evolution Chamber to back that one up as well. He doesn't know what's going on over here. He has no idea about the Stargate, but to be fair, it's NightEnd. It's to be expected. Overseer Cocoon coming up right there, so we'll be able to get some great fast scouting information, possibly fly over the entire base without dying. A couple more gateways to follow it up right here for NightEnd as well, and we've got the hatchery coming down. It's looking very, very nice indeed. Very nice for Dimaga at the moment. It's looking nice and secure. There is a Phoenix coming out, but as I said, he does have access to that lair, so that means he can build the Hydras if he needs. He's also got the Evolution Chamber, so he doesn't really have to worry too much about what's going on for the time being. Dimaga with the Queen right there and looking to try and infuse some armor, which he does fairly nicely. And we've got NightEnd moving in once again. He's got a couple of Phoenixes on the field. We'll have to see just how effective that will actually end up being. There is the possibility that he'll be able to pick off a few units right here. That's what he's looking for. Not able to flank around, but he does have that Void Ray up. Now, how many Queens does Dimaga have? He's got 5, so it's going to end up being a little bit dangerous considering the ability to lift up. He's got 3 Phoenixes right now, NightEnd, as well. There's a quick lift, and the Void Ray, the combination between these two is really, really nasty. The Void Ray does incredible damage to Queens once it's able to get charged up, and of course, if it's not being shot at. And he grabs the second Queen as well, so this is looking nice for NightEnd. A good aggressive attack right here. In the meantime, what is he going to be able to do? Well, he sent a couple of Zealots in to drive Dimaga's economic force out of there, and of course they'll be driven right into the Void Race. Another Queen has been nailed down. Now, Dimaga needs a lot more anti-air firepower on the ground, in fact, to deal with these Phoenixes. A lot coming in. That Overlord will be picked off as well, which is not what you want at all. Another Queen will be ripped apart right here. He doesn't have any armor upgrades either, so that really would have helped a huge amount, and that's not happening right now. Dimaga's Queen's getting torn up right now by NightEnd, and finally Dimaga's able to get in a good transfusion, a good shot, but still, those Phoenixes remain alive. The Hydralisk Den is being forced right now. He has no other choice. These Queens are obviously not good enough. He's not even able to take out a single one of those Phoenixes right now. Dimaga charging forward, 26 Zerglings right now on the field, but he can't break that line. Not with the photon cannons then, certainly not with the sentries, so he's going to need something a bit heavier than that. Dimaga looking to scout out, see whether or not his opponent's got an expansion. He does not. NightEnd is stuck firmly on 2 bases right now. He can't really go anywhere for the time being. Phoenixes and Void Rays. The Void Rays should be able to deny that hatchery, perhaps. And, of course, the Phoenixes are going to be able to do some fairly immense damage to this, as long as they've got some energy. They don't currently have any right now. Void Ray on the way up once again for NightEnd, which again is to be expected. He's a very heavy air player, and that will, and indeed has, done him incredibly well. Twilight Council on the way up as well, as Dimaga inexplicably charges the Phoenixes with a bunch of Zerglings, which will not help at all. He could maybe, I suppose, jump around and try and look threatening, but right now I'd be more concerned about the stats of those Queens right now. There's a quick pickup, and does he have enough energy for another transfuse? It does look like he does, so he's able to keep that up, and a quick drop right there. He's only got 1 of those Queens up, but he's able to take the Void Ray out, so that is a great start. And he might be able to take another Phoenix here as well, as it quickly evacuates and is able to do absolutely nothing. So a nice defense there by Dimaga, and that Void Ray now completely out of commission, but a second Void Ray coming in to try and finish the job. 3 more gateways coming up for NightEnd right here. He still has not expanded. Baneling Nest is on the way right here for Dimaga. He's going to need that, really, to break through this, honestly. I mean, if he gets enough Hydralisks, he can chew through it nicely. But my concern would be that his opponent goes Colossus, which is what's happening. Robotics Bay is on the way. There we go, Hydralisks on the field. Not a lot of them. Doesn't want to overcommit to it. I don't really blame him. Hydralisks and Queens in the mix right there. A couple of Phoenixes. But look at the creep spread for Dimaga. It's absolutely ridiculous. He's doing incredibly well on spreading it all the way across the map. Another Void Ray from NightEnd coming in, but really, he's not able to do much unless he has a mass force of those things. NightEnD trying to pick up a few more. He's able to start a supply block right there for Dimaga, which is not exactly pleasant, and able to get away from that quite nicely before the Hydras can really get in. Still, however, this is a pretty passive strategy from NightEnD, who has had to gun his way through his old wall off right here to see if he can do any damage. Dimaga still has a army count advantage, and it's quite a large one at that. That would be my concern right now for NightEnD. If he decides to charge in, simply because he's been playing against now the 4 bases of Dimaga for a very long time, and he's only got 2 bases of his own, that NightEnd's going to eventually just get overwhelmed if he decides to go in. You can see the economy of Dimaga is much stronger, and of course with those 4 bases he can spawn many more units at a time. NightEnD looking to take a third right here. It's a very well defended third by the looks of it. He'll look to try and place cannons around it, make a nice tight defense. Dimaga scouting once again, and NightEnD pushing forward as quickly as he can. Dimaga's forces are looking